Alright, this video is over topic 1-2. So first they ask us to kind of remember some basic vocab. A variable is a letter or symbol used to represent an unknown value, such as X, A, B, money sign. So any letter or symbol. A coefficient is a quantity placed before and multiplies the variable. So it's placed before the variable. So when you see something like 4x, 4 is your coefficient. An equation is a statement that two math expressions are equal. It contains an equal sign and it can be solved. So something like 2x plus 5 equals 7 is an equation because of that equal sign. Whereas an expression is a math phrase consisting of numbers, variables, and operations, but does not have an equal sign and cannot be solved. So something like 2x plus 5. Doesn't have an equal sign, can't be, it could be simplified. This one cannot be, but an expression in general could be simplified but can't be solved. In this case, we don't know what that expression is set equal to, so we don't know how to solve. We couldn't say what x was for sure. So we are asked to match each phrase with a corresponding expression. So 7 less than a number. Less than is a turnaround word, meaning a number comes in front, less than we subtract, and whatever's in front of the word less than goes in the back. So n minus 7. So that would be answer choice D. A number decreased by 11. Decreased is a minus word, but it is not a turnaround word. Than is more your turnaround word. So a number decreased by 11 would be n minus 11, which is answer choice E. 70% of a number, 70%, first thing we have to do is turn it into a decimal. I will tell you that I tell my class percents are like the Beyonce, or Beyonce is the queen of percents. Beyonce is the queen of percents because when you have a percent, you move your decimal to the left, to the left. So your decimal is 0.70, 0.70. Of tells us to multiply. A number could be represented with any letter. So 0.7 times n would be answer choice H. While we're already speaking of percents, the bottom one says a number decreased by 7%. Again, percents we go to the left, to the left. So that as a percent is 0.07. When you are taking a number and decreasing it by a percent, first thing you have to do is find that percent of the number. Because we are decreasing it, it's a number, so n decreased by minus. 7% of that number would be represented by 0.07 n, just like how up here we did 70% of a number is 0.70 times n. So this one would be represented by answer choice F. Coming back up to the top, 10 times the difference. Anytime you see sum or difference, it needs to go in parentheses. So 10 times the difference of a number and 7. Difference tells us to subtract number and 7. So that would be answer choice G. 7 more than means plus. Twice a number means 2n. So that would be answer choice A. Again, than is a turnaround word, so you can switch 2n and 7. With plus, it doesn't matter if you turn them around. Less than absolutely matters. 7 plus the quotient. So quotient tells us to divide. It's a weird word. So we're going to divide a number and 8. It could be written like this. It could also be written like this and divided by 8. And that's what we're going to see more of in algebra, so they start setting you up with that. And then 4 times the sum, so sum in parentheses again, the sum of a number and 7. A number and 7 would be n plus 7. So that would be answer choice B. On the back, they ask us to solve the equation showing all of our steps. So for this step, anytime that you have fractions, you are going to cross multiply, which is also known as the butterfly method. It does not matter which one you put in front and which one you put in the back. What does matter is this green example, negative 0.3 is being multiplied by all of a minus 2. So it's better if you just go ahead and always put your terms in parentheses. So you're taking all of the top, multiplying it by all of the bottom. So negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And then here, because we have parentheses, we have to remember to distribute. Negative 0.3 times a is negative 0.3a. Negative 0.3 times negative 2 is a positive 6. So the reason we're doing this is because we need to get rid of fractions. And then step 2, we need to get rid of our parentheses. So we distribute. Step 3, we box and move whatever is outside of the box. So 0.6 is outside the box. We do the opposite step. And our reason is we have to move 0.6 to the other side. You can't just let it disappear, because then you're like a mobster that like kills people and they just disappear off the face of the earth. You can't do that. You can move it, you can't make it disappear. When we do the negative 0.6 to both sides, it disappears from the right side, but it pops back up over here. It's like popping up in another country. You can do that. You just can't kill people. Okay. And then our last step is to divide, because we need to get A by itself. And we divide because it's the opposite of multiplication. So we divide both sides by negative 0.3 because we need to divide. Negative 0.3 is being multiplied by A, so we need to divide, and A equals 32. You could also put 32 equals A. To check our work, we will plug in for A and see if that equals negative 0.3 divided by 3. So when I type negative 3 divided by, so negative 3 divided by 32 minus 2, we get negative 0.1. And then when I take negative 0.3 and divide it by 3, I also get negative 0.1, which means this is true. For the rest of this video, I'm just going to work out the steps because I feel like you can understand the reasons. Again, earlier this week you were given a blue sheet that takes you through a flow chart of how to solve these. So make sure you are referencing that if you're confused. So butterfly, 12 times x, which would just be 12x. Definitely watch it over here. 7x plus 4 all goes in parentheses. So 5 times 7x is 35x. And 5 times 4 is 20. Make sure you distribute both of those terms. From here, we're going to subtract 35x from both sides because we need to move it to the other side. So we have 20 on the right. And then 12 minus 35 is negative 23x on the left. My final step is to divide by negative 23 on both sides. And I'm just going to put this as a decimal. 20 divided by negative 23. Oh, that's ugly. We'll just say negative 0.87. So the big thing here is to remember that you have to distribute here. Problem 3. We take 1/5 and distribute it. So 1/5 times 13, 1/5 times negative b, and that equals 18/5. Okay, so make sure you are distributing that. 13 times 1/5, we'll just say it's 13/5. And then this is negative b over 5 equals 18 over 5. To solve, I subtract 13/5 from both sides because it's being added and I need to do the opposite. So negative b over 5 equals negative 5 over 5. And negative 5 divided by 5 is just a negative 1, so I'm just going to replace that. And then on this side, I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 5 because I have negative 1/5 over here. So b equals 5. Problem 4, a little bit easier. We have 1/2 times 4p plus 1/2 times 12 equals 24. The reason this one's a little bit easier is because your fractions work out nicely. Half of 4 is 2. Half of 12 is 6. And now we solve like normal. Subtract 6 from both sides. So 2p equals 18. And finish up by dividing both sides by 2. P equals 9. Problems 5 and 6, they want us to write an equation but not solve. So we just have to write. 5 says the length of a building is 2 times the sum of its width and 4. If the length is 28, find the width. So the length means equals 2 times the sum we talked about on the front. Sum goes in parentheses. The sum of the width and 4. And then the next sentence says the length is 28. So for our final equation, instead of writing L, we're going to write the number for L, which in this case is 28. And then the 2 times W plus 4 stays the same because I don't know what W is, so I can't plug in. Problem 6 says an integer is, so I equals 9 times the difference goes in parentheses of twice a rational number and 3. Now remember, some people were getting tripped up. And normally means add, but because they have the word difference here, we have to do that subtraction. So we subtract here because of the word difference. Don't let the and trip you up. The second sentence tells us the integer is negative 35. So when I write my full thing, instead of I, I'm going to write the number for I. So negative 35 equals 9 times 2r minus 3. 2 more problems. When 6 is added to 4 times the number, the result is 50. Find the number. So when 6 is added to, so added to 4 times the number, the result is, so equals 50. And that's going to be my equation, so I can just scoot it over here. And this one they do want me to solve, so I box my letter, subtract or do the opposite of whatever's on the outside. So 4n equals 44. And then divide both sides by 4. So the number would be 11. Karen's mom runs a dairy farm. Last year Betty gave, so Betty gave 375 less than, remember less than is a turnaround word, so I'm getting ahead of myself. I have to subtract. 375 is in front of the word less than because less than is a turnaround word. It has to go behind the subtraction. Twice Bessie, so 2 Bessies. If Betty, so BE, produced or equals 1467, how many gallons did Betsy? So for my final equation, instead of writing Betty, I'm going to write the number for Betty. So 1467 equals 2 Bessies minus 375. To solve, I box my variable, do the opposite. So 1842 equals 2 Bessies. And then divide both sides by 2. So Bessie would equal 921.